Good morning. So we are doing the Bhagavad Gita, continuing with it. We had started a new chapter, if you recollect. This was chapter 12. Like I said, it's a very short chapter, but it's the most important one for those who are the devotees of Sri Krishna. This is called the Yoga of Devotion. Now, Krishna was talking about how things are to be done, and now he is going to teach us the practice of this Yoga of Devotion. See, in the material world, we practice the Hatha Yoga and the Pranayama and every other thing. But is there any method of practice of the Yoga of Devotion? So that is what is going to get explained today. So let us do this chapter and see for ourselves. We are doing Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 12, verse 8 onwards. Therefore, fix your mind on me and establish your intellect on me alone. Thereafter, you will abide solely in me. There is no doubt about it. Now, these are a tad difficult for any human being to actually get into, because physically you can sit in a yogic posture, you can try meditation, you can do all kinds of things physically. You see, when a yoga teacher teaches people, okay, now fold your legs and now put your hands to the side and do this, close your eyes, you can do that. That is a physical activity. And that physical activity is going to give you your physical will. That is basically you are going to be feeling happy and you are going to be one with your body. You are going to have maybe good health. That's it. But Sri Krishna is beyond all these bodies. How does a person in the material world get to know Krishna? So the first step is what he is given over here. Let us see what the first step says. He says, fix your mind on me and establish your intellect in me alone. Human beings have a difficulty of fixing their mind on anything. Unless and until you have some examination coming up, or you are getting married and you have to fix your mind on your would-be spouse, or you are in love. Yes, all these things are there, where a person can be one with that object, but that is again temporary. It is for a very short duration of time. Here Krishna is talking about fixing your mind on me. It's like a permanent thing. It's not temporary at all. And it is not so easy. So to make it easier, Krishna was talking about in the last chapter to Arjuna about how he has to look at the physical body of Krishna. See, he says, Arjuna was telling him, I have called you Yadava, hey Krishna, all those kind of things I have called you, not realizing that you are that God Almighty. Now this form was there in existence physically on the realm of this earth thousands of years ago, and we have an idea of how the form looks like. It's a very comely form, it's a very beautiful form. So you can definitely have this form in front of you. You will find that some of the greatest of the sages also would carry the form with them. You will find that Mirabai used to carry a small image of Sri Krishna with her, and she would keep it over there, and every time she would pray to that form, because otherwise how do you zero onto an object? Again, in the material world, if you want a certain object, you have to keep that image of that object in front of you, isn't it? So let us say you are in love with a girl. So you will be definitely having some photograph of hers in your cell phone. I'm not going to say you're going to carry it in your purse anymore, because purses are not there. And second thing is, you don't get nowadays those printed photographs, it's very difficult to get. So what is the best option is to keep your photograph in the phone. Yeah. So you keep that photograph and you keep on admiring that photograph so often. You open the page and you look at it. You open the page and look at it. So that is the way your devotion to that object grows. So Krishna says that you have seen my form and you are seeing it right now, Arjuna. Keep this form in mind. My form is very unique in this material world. So keep this form always in front of you. And when you are one with this form in your mind, as if you are in love with that form, he says you will establish this in the intellect. The intellect is beyond the mind. Remember this. The intellect is beyond the mind. And the intellect is the place from where the real thoughts come. We have done this. Alright? So let us come back to this. So what is intellect all about? Intellect is nothing but a storage space of information, massive doses of information, tomes of information are stored over there, and the right kind of information is dished out when it is necessary. That is the intellect. So, once you fix your eyes, with your eyes, the form of mind, take the image that you feel so much comfortable with, and you keep that form in front of you. So your mind gets attracted towards that form. And when your mind is attracted towards that form, the form's data, that whatever the form that is there, is now stored in the intellect. So the intellect always deciphers that form in a particular manner when you need it. I will give you an example of this, how it is done. Now let us say you have seen your grandfather or grandmother before they died. Now you are a very young person. You might have been 6, 7, 8, 10, whatever age, and you had met your grandfather or grandmother by that time, and you were they were pally with you, and you used to like your grandmother or grandfather. A few years later they died, and now you are a grown-up person. That form is stored in your memory banks, in your intellect. So what happens is, sometimes you get dreams, and in those dreams you see this grandfather or your grandmother coming to you and talking to you. It happens to everybody. I'm just saying grandfather, grandmother. It could be anybody that you have stored in your memory. So those people appear in your dream state also. How do you recognize? You are then referring to the intellect which is there, the memory bank that is there. So that is the way you identify, isn't it? And you say, oh, I had a dream in which my grandfather or grandmother came, and she was telling me that I love you so much. Something like that comes up. So, did you get the point? It is the image that is stored inside of you. You are so much devoted to that image. Think about it. Why is it so? That is the reason. Now, it happens to us all the time. You will find that, take the Babas, the Sai Baba over there in Shirdi. People store that image of his. There are hardly a few photographs of his, maybe 2, 3 are there. And those photographs they store in the memory. They look at it every day and they pray to that image, that photograph. And when they pray to that photograph or that image gets embedded in their intellect as a memory. And sometimes they get this, sakshatkar of Baba coming and meeting them. And they are able to identify him because of the devotion to that object. I hope you understood how the yoga of practice of devotion starts in the first place. You will find that in every book of mine there will be one picture. Like in this there is a picture of Dattatreya. So in this book there will be one picture. In some other there will be some others. So how do you identify? This way, you keep an image and you keep on looking at it, it gets embedded inside of you. Alright? Now, this is the way in which he says, therefore fix your mind on me and establish your intellect in me alone. Thereafter you will abide solely in me. There is no doubt about it. So Krishna is giving his own interpretation. He says, you do this. Keep this image of mine, focus on the image, embed it in your mind, then it gets embedded in your intellect, and once it gets embedded in your intellect, and only that one image. Please understand this. That is why he says, in me alone. If you are going to clutter it with 100 other gods, like people have this habit. Oh, I go to Ganesha temple. Oh, I go to Shiva temple. Oh, I do this. Oh, I do that. So all the images are there in one place. Have you ever done that to your girlfriend or to your father or mother or your grandparents? No. You have your set of grandparents, so you are going to keep their image only. You are not going to keep images of all the hundreds others. If you have one girlfriend, you are going to keep that image of that girlfriend only. If you have others, then you are finished. See? Just imagine like that. The funny part of life is this, you cannot have too many people in your life. Alright? There was a very funny incident which happened just a few days ago. Yeah. And Deshmukh, Ritesh Deshmukh, he's a film actor. So he was meeting another film actress. And naturally when they meet, they do, and then he took her hands and he kissed her hands. And the camera was caught showing his wife, Genelia. And she was saying, oh, how can you do like this? And then they did a small skit on the, all these social media. It was a very funny thing, no doubt about it. And she does like this. and the poor Ritesh Deshmukh is doing like this. So, it is exactly like that. You can't have too many people in your frame. Got it? I hope you understood. This is a funny example I gave you to understand what is the essence of the whole thing. So Krishna is telling you this. He says, don't keep any other thing in your mind. Only me. So when you have only me, then naturally there is no doubt about it. You are anyway going to abide solely in me. So this is the way in which devotion grows. Alright? So we move to the next one. We are doing chapter 12 from the Bhagavad Gita, verse 9. If you cannot steadily fix the mind on me, Arjuna, then seek to attain me through the yoga of practice. Now this is something which has to be done by every human being. I can't do it, I can't do it. I can't by heart these things. You tell somebody, read this. I can't read it. I get so bored when I read just a few lines. Every person does this. Every person will tell me this is the answer. Guruji, it's boring. Sitting for your 1 hour lecture is so boring. Yeah, of course, it is going to be boring. But can you persevere? Can you have that guts to sit through that 1 hour of talk? See, the idea is that. So in the same way, you have to do it. How? It is called yoga of practice. Practice is so important. Like they say, before you play the cricket match, you have to do net practice, isn't it? Huh? And before you do the final running, you have to do, practicing on the field constantly, right? You have to run, 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 run. Exactly like that. You may not like some things. Actually, there are people who will say, "No, I feel disgusted with this word. I don't like this word. I hate this. I hate that." So I tell them torture yourself for some time. Maybe you should go and do that thing only for that minute or so. Don't worry. Things are going to work later on. But first, you got to do it. All right. Now, I give a very weird example many a times when people give me this kind of nonsensical things. Now I tell them, you see, in India we have arranged marriages. Okay. And now if you are that bride or the bridegroom, you might not have seen your, the other counterpart. And naturally, after marriage, you are supposed to spend your entire life with that person. You think you're going to like that person in the first go? No, because you say, who is this person? Somebody new. But gradually, slowly, you will start loving that person. You will start admiring that person. This is the importance of it all. See, when there is an arranged marriage, people really are having a clean slate. They may have fallen in love with somebody else, but here in India we have a different way of looking at life. So naturally we have these arranged marriages. I don't think the parents are gone on Tinder or something like that to search for. They have Shaadi.com and various other portals where they have gone and searched for. It happens. So naturally the person starts admiring and loving those qualities of this other individual. It's not easy to fall in love so easily with somebody you don't know. Many a times they will say love at first sight, but happens. Sometimes you have to practice for many years also. Then the perfection comes. It is not that Sachin Tendulkar became a great cricketer on day one. As a young boy, he would practice in Shivaji Park for many years. His Guruji, his teacher, Achrekar, every morning he would be there. Every evening he would be there. Imagine that kind of devotion is required. But you think on the first day only you can score runs? No, it takes practice, a whole load of practice. We used to get, as people who are observing the match, we used to get very frustrated with Sunil Gavaskar and Sachin Tendulkar, because those fellows will take only one run in cricket match. But we used to say, 4 क्यों नहीं लगाता? चौका. But the problem was, they were very steady and it has come over a period of time. That is the reason why practice is so important. Practicing is important on a day-to-day basis. So Krishna is giving us the point number 2. First he said keep the image, store it in your mind, then let it go in your intellect. This is the first step he said. Okay, then you will. But he says maybe the mind is too busy in other things. You are not in a position to focus on me. You will say, you are looking at the picture and you will look here and there. Everybody has the habit. Now because mind is very unsteady. So he is giving the point number 2 over here. He says, if you are not able to, don't worry so much. Practice is important. The yoga of practice. You see, then seek to attain me through the yoga of practice. Practice means consistently and continuously doing the same thing. If you keep on doing the same thing over and over again, you will start liking it. There was a gentleman over here yesterday who said that I don't like this and I don't like that and I want to be like this. And now he is being told that he is supposed to sit on the billing counter of his own small store. I said, you may not like it today, but slowly and steadily, when you sit over there and you show a little interest in things around, maybe you will start liking what you're doing. Maybe you will develop that longing, that thing which is required to like those things. There is no way of saying, I don't want to do this. It is possible. Anything is possible in this world. Please remember this. Anything and everything is possible provided you put a little effort in it. So that effort is called practice. We see, in my case, I don't know how to touch the floor. In a yogic posture, I can't bend over because of my stomach, right? So many a times I have to use another trick. Practice it. Keep on practicing. Someday in life, you will be able to touch it. Who knows? And this practice is so critical and important for every human being. We all have to keep on doing the same thing over and over again. So he has explained point number 2. For the yoga of devotion, number 1, just keep my image in your mind and it will be stored in the intellect. Number 2, then if you are not able to do it, keep on practicing it. Practice it over and over and over again. Now we move to the next verse. We are doing chapter 12 from the Bhagavad Gita, verse 10. If you are unequal even to the pursuit of some such practices, be intent to work for me. You shall attain perfection even by performing actions for my sake. So sweet Krishna is. Krishna is saying, I understand your mind is too much of clutter. You have too many things going on in your mind. It does not matter. Why should it matter? I will give you one more method. He says that one more method is so simple. And that is, why not work for me? You see, it doesn't mean that you're going to dial up Krishna and say, Krishna ji, can I have some work? Nothing like that. You don't know his number, no? So let us come back to what he is saying in reality. Work for me means what? You have been put in this world for a purpose. Got it? You are here in this world for a purpose. Find that purpose and run after it. One most important criteria. That which comes to you easily is meant for you. What did I say? That which comes to you easily, with ease, is actually meant for you. Let us say you are good in numbers. Okay? If you are good in numbers, that means you are supposed to be connected to the numbers. Maybe in accounts or maybe in some other place where numbers are used. So go in that direction. Suppose you have a fantastic memory and you have a mobile face. You can use it for the purpose of saying dialogues or doing something like that. You have good depth with your hands, with your fingers. Maybe you know crochet. Maybe you know knitting. Maybe you know some of those arts. Do those things. People are good in something. God has given everybody the ability to do something. It could be anything. You just look around you. You will find it yourself. And if you find that, that is the thing that you got to stick to. That which comes to you easily. The work that comes to you easily. Did you get this point? Underline it in your life. So he says, do that work. Pursue that work. And you pursue it because I have given you that work. It has come to you easily, correct it? Right? So if it has come to you easily, then why not do that work for my sake? Because I have put you in that place. So if I have put you in that place and if I have given you that work, which you may acknowledge, say that you are working for Krishna. Got the answer? Work for Krishna. You see, many a times I was telling people, you know what? I never could stick to a job at all. Never. Because for me to do a job was really painful. And then I started doing something on my own. And then I came to Bangalore, and in Bangalore, I would be standing in the store and talking to people for hours at length. This was very strange because that is what was coming to me easily. That I could speak for a very long duration of time. So when I met my Gurudev in 2007, this is the thing he told me. He said, you can be a good teacher. Go teach. And at that time, naturally, I said, no, I don't want to teach anybody. But who am I to say no to? My own Guru? My Guru is telling me, go teach. I said no to him, but then I said, okay, I agree. Okay, I will teach one person. And like that, I started doing. And this is what I was good at. I can talk earlier on, you will be amazed to know that I would have satsangs for 6 to 8 hours continuously. People would be sitting in front of me for so many hours. Finally, I had to shoo them away. I said, go home. So I could speak for so many hours non-stop. Only taking the name of the Lord. I was doing it all because it is the Lord involved. It is only satsanga. So I was doing satsangs only. And later on in life, I was given the task of teaching a few people, which I am doing it. So this came to me easily. That is the job. And what comes to me easily is my swadharma. And doing it for the Lord is the only thing which is redeeming factor in the life. You should understand this. That is why he says, point number 3, if you are unequal even in the pursuit of such practice, maybe you are not able to practice, with your mind not being steady, you are always roaming around, you are thinking of something else, you are not able to steady your mind at all, and you cannot even practice. Many people don't even practice. So then what do? Be intent to work for me. You shall attain perfection even by performing actions for my sake. So when you do these actions for me, because I have put you in that place, that means you are doing it only for my sake. Like I told my Gurudev, I will do this for you. In the same way, you do this for Krishna. Whatever place that he has put you in, be happy with it and do what is necessary. And you are doing it for Krishna alone. Remember this. You are not doing it for some petty human beings. Those petty human beings are just incidentals. They come in the way. They are just there on the path. It's like people in a train. You meet people in the train or in a plane. They are just some people who are traveling with you. Like that. Think like that. There are people who are traveling with you. You should then do the work for me. That's it. This is the third part which he says. Now we go to the next verse. We are doing chapter 12, verse 11 from the Bhagavad Gita. If taking recourse to the yoga of my realization, you are unable to even do this. Just imagine, Krishna is again giving one more rider. He says, you are not able to do this also. Then, subduing your mind and intellect, relinquish the fruits of action. So sweet. See what he is saying? He says here, Okay, I understand. First, you are not able to focus on my picture. Okay, you cannot store it in your intellect also because you have got too many things going on. You are not able to practice also. You can't sit in one place. You can't think of me also. Okay, fine. Then do the work for me. That is point number 3. He says, now, finally, okay, if you are not able to do the work for me also, all right, I accept it. I accept it. Many a times people think, why should I do it for Krishna? I am doing it for my sake. See, the people have this habit of saying, no, I am a self-made person. I do it for myself. It's okay. So Krishna is still giving more concessions. He says, fine. It does not matter. You can do it only for yourself or whatever that you are thinking of. Doesn't matter at all. But you don't bother about the fruits of action. Which means what? You are doing the work. Don't bother that you are going to earn millions or billions. Don't bother that you are going to become very famous. Don't bother that you are going to become somebody really great. So the person who had come yesterday, I told him, I said, in my world I was telling him, I said, you know what? I know the social media like the back of my hand. I have been teaching marketing all my life, in the past also. I used to come out with harebrained schemes. Nobody could think of those schemes. And I would come up with that. So, even after that, shouldn't that be responsible for making me a social media star or something like that today? When I'm doing so many satsangs, I've got tons of you know, what we call as the matter that is there. So many satsangs, so many videos. It's like a content king, and yet nobody knows me. Why? This is what I said. I am not bothered about whether it is to be seen by 100 people or one person. It is not important. It is not important that I have to be bothered that millions of people will start liking me. They will start following me. No. I am not bothered about that also. It is the divine will. Please remember this. It is the divine will which works at the end of the day. The fruits of action is in no one's hands except Krishna. Got the answer? Krishna is telling you very clearly, the fruits of action is not there in your hands. So in my hands also, I will not bother about trying to think, oh, I want to become famous, I want to become like this, I want to become like that, people should recognize me. I don't care. Because it is not needed. It is called the fruit of action. I did an action, that fruit is there. Think. There are contents and contents and contents which are there. Hours and hours of data. So much of writing I had done. You will be amazed to know. Right from 2001 till 2017, I have written not less than 500 to 1000 words a day in some of the channels. But I should not be bothered about whether somebody is seeing them or not. Whether it reaches a person or not, that is not my call. It should never be my call. Let us say, I am a good artist, or I am a good songwriter, or I am a good, publicist, whatever profession I am in. I should never be bothered that, yes, my songs are going to become famous tomorrow. No. I am writing because I want to write. That is my Swadharma. And Swadharma can be anything, whatever comes to you easily. If writing comes to you easily, that is your Swadharma. You got what I am saying? If social work comes to you, that is your Swadharma. If singing comes to you easily, that is your Swadharma. He says, do that work. Sing, write, dance, do whatever that is necessary. That you are doing it because I have put you in that position, that is why you do. But don't bother about the fruits of action. This is point number 4. He says, see, one thing you understand, you may say, I'm not working for Krishna. I'm just working because I want to feel nice about it. Okay? Feel nice about it. But don't bother at the end, oh, I did so much, so I should get so much of money worth. No, you don't have to bother about it. It's like Sri Rajma is over here. You know what I told her? I said, you have to give those talks and you have to meet people. You have to write articles. Those articles are fantastic, fabulous articles she writes. And I have told her, whether they reach the audience or not is none of your concern. You are doing it for me alone. So she gives talk to the college, London, and this and that, and God knows where all places, IITs and IIMs, and God knows. So many talks, so much of things she is doing. I was very clear to her. Don't bother about where it is going to lead you. Whether there is no money coming out of it, don't bother. Just do it, do it, do it, do it, do it. You are doing it only for Krishna. And you should never be bothered about the fruits of action. Fruits of action can never be judged or got by a person. Please remember this. You may be same as Mark Zuckerberg, but his destiny says that he is going to be Facebook owner. Your destiny says you are going to be a nobody. You may both put in same amount of effort. Got it? People can put in as much effort as they want to. Some people can become famous. Some people may not become famous. It is their destiny. Right? It is their prarabdha karma which leads you to that particular point. That destiny is in nobody's hands. Only in the Lord's hands. That is why it is said, you should never bother about the end result. This is what he says. If taking recourse to the yoga of my realization, you are unable to even do this. This means work for me. Then subduing your mind and intellect. Your mind is going to tell, you are doing so much of job, you have to get so much worth. So you are put in 1,000 hours of work which you should get you $1,000 for that. No, don't bother. Relinquish the fruit of all action. Do the work, but do not allow your mind and intellect to dictate terms to you, saying that you did so much, so you should get so much. Don't. So this is the 4th step. I will recount the 4 steps for you. Alright? Step number 1. He says, keep my image in your mind, which will go in the intellect, and it will stay over there. Then you will become devoted to me. Then you will come to me. Step 1. He says, suppose you are not able to focus because your mind is aflutter, goes all over the town. Doesn't matter. Then what are you supposed to do? Then do practice. Try to practice. Practice. Try looking at my image. Try looking at this. Whatever image that you like, just keep on looking, zero onto it. Maybe your eyes go wandering, again come back to it. Again they go wandering, again come back to it. Like that. You keep on zeroing onto that image. So it's called the yoga of practice. So suppose your mind is aflutter, then go to the yoga of practice. 3rd, he says, maybe you are not able to do even that. It does not matter. Think that I have given you a job, some job of yours. Whatever position I have put you in, think, because it has come to you so easily, it is a job which I have given you. Do that job only for me. Because I have given you the job and I have given you this ability to do the job. So think that it is the job for me alone. That is for Krishna alone. And then do it diligently. Then he says this was point 3. Now he says point 4. Now let us say you may say that I am not doing this for Krishna. I am doing it for my own self. At such point in time, what are you supposed to do? Then do the job. Doesn't matter. Do it. But don't bother about the fruits of action. Don't say, I did so much of work, I need so much of money, or I need this fame, I need to do this, I need to get that. Don't do that. That is called the fruit of action. Don't bother about the fruit of action. What is due to you will come to you. This is point number 4. So now we go to the next one. So we are doing chapter 12 of the Bhagavad Gita, verse 12. Knowledge is better than practice without discernment. Meditation on God is superior to knowledge. And renunciation of the fruit of action is even superior to meditation. For peace immediately follows renunciation. See, this is one verse where Krishna is telling you which is number 1. People think that they can do yoga and they can do meditation. The first point where he says, no, you're keeping the picture of mine or keep focusing on me, that is called meditation. Alright? Did you get the point? People are taught meditation, people are taught yoga, hatha yoga and all the kinds of, tantra yoga, mantra yoga, God knows all kinds of yoga they teach. And they say, do meditation. And they think that that is the highest path. In this verse, Sri Krishna is very clearly saying, there are certain things which are higher than meditation, certain things higher than everything is giving. Knowledge is better than practice without discernment. So practice is one, higher. Then practice is called knowledge. Knowledge is greater than practice. I will give you one material worldly example. Material worldly example. Okay? Now, there is a person who keeps on practicing constantly. Let us take for example the same person called Sachin Tendulkar or Sunil Gavaskar. These were the cricketers. They were doing that as a practice. So they were doing one run in cricket. But there was another person who was very good in the knowledge of cricket. His understanding was, if the ball comes over here, how to hit it. His knowledge was perfect, remember. But he was not that good in practice. No, he may not be good in practice. But his knowledge was perfect. He could score 100 runs in half the time. So we have certain great players in India also. They can score more runs in half the time or lesser time because their knowledge is far superior. Another example, you will find that there are race, people run, right? So they are doing this 100 meters run. And there you have one person who understands how this run is to be done. Okay. He has better knowledge than the person who has been practicing for 20 years. So knowledge is greater than even the practice. Please remember this. If you have better knowledge, then you can score more. So practice is one thing, but knowledge is different. So let us see in this material world how this knowledge can get you something. Okay? There are certain tricks of the trade which you should know. You may have studied. People are studying MBA and all those things. Big university degrees. They study for many years. They get all these IITs, IIMs and Harvards and all those great degrees they get. They are doing it by means of practice. But there is a person who is called a street smart person. Who is it? a street smart person. He may not be an MBA, he may not even be graduate, but he is very street smart. Like Warren Buffett of this world. He's a street smart guy. He makes more money than even the person who might have done his MBAs. Did you get that answer? Person may be practicing for many years, but this person is smarter because of knowledge. So here Krishna is saying, this knowledge is better than practice without discernment. Meditation on God is superior to knowledge. So first we have taken number one below, lower level is called practice. Okay, you keep on doing the same thing over and over and over again. Above that is knowledge. Above knowledge is called meditation on God. See, why is meditation on God more, productive than knowledge? I will give you the understanding. There are people who will study the Vedas and Shastras, and they will keep on reading books after books after books after books. You will find that there are people who have written hundreds of books on spirituality. Go in the market and see for yourself. They have read so many scriptures, so many books. After that, they have gone and written. They are dependent on knowledge. Alright? See, I am giving you the understanding. There is another person like Ramakrishna Paramahansa. He has not even read the Bhagavad Gita. He is very clear. I don't know Bhagavad Gita. I have never read those books. I have not read Vedas and all that. But why was he having superior knowledge? Why was he such a great devotee? It's because of his meditation on God. He left everything to God. That is the funny part. So, I will tell you about myself. It's a very funny story. Till 2001, I was not even aware that there is a book called Bhagavad Gita. This book which I am teaching you all today, I had no clue that there is a book called Bhagavad Gita. I had no idea about there are Vedas, there are all these things, because having an English education and going to, church from my childhood, because it was an English education, it was a convent where I went. So naturally, what happened? I would attend the church. I would go to Mahim Church in Mumbai, and I would say to Mother Mary over there, I don't have a job, can you give me a job? I don't have a girlfriend, give me a girlfriend. You got what I am saying? So for me it was like that. And yes, I used to go and play cricket in Prabhadevi next to this Siddhivinayak temple. Every day, every few days I will be there in Prabhadevi. There is something called the Sambhaji Maidan or something like that. So I would go and play cricket over there. So at that time, I would go to this Siddhivinayak temple. Why? Because I needed something. I want a good ranks. That's why I would do. I was like an ordinary human being. And later on in life, as I grew, I became an agnostic and an atheist also. I didn't care about any God. So what was the greatest book that I had ever read? Nothing. I did not even know Ramayana or Mahabharata or whoever is concerned. And there was no knowledge there. Zero knowledge. 2001 came. And I woke up from my coma. Alright? From 2001, I was wondering, where am I getting all this knowledge from? Because I don't know Bhagavad Gita, yet open any page in any scripture, in any scripture of this world. You can get me even the Egyptians one, you can get me even from Sumeria, doesn't matter. You can get me even the Incas. From any part of the world, any scripture, anywhere in the world, open to whichever page you want, and I can give you a very deep explanation, the spiritual knowledge of what is written over there. Did you get this point? A person in so many years of life, 41 years, had never touched any scripture. And suddenly, the whole world opened up. I read the Vedas, I know this. I opened the Upanishads, I know this. I said, I want the toughest book in the world. And I knew it. Where did that come from? This is the point. There is no need of knowledge. The Divine Lord is using this as an interface. Those who understand computers will know this is only an interface. The body is only an interface for the divine knowledge to flow through this. So there is nothing inside. Zero memories, zero knowledge. It is just a pipeline from the divine. And this is what he says. Meditation of God is superior to knowledge. So knowledge by itself storing is of no use, because then that knowledge is material worldly. Here the knowledge comes on its own, just flowing. And there is nothing like it can stop. It just keeps on going forever. That is what happens. So did you get this? This is the third step he says. First, the lowest one. The lowest one is practicing discernment. Practice. Higher than practice, he says, is knowledge. Higher than knowledge is meditation on God. The only thing that I could think of from 2001 is the Divine Lord is there. Who am I? Who is teaching me? Those are the questions I had to go out and find out, and that is what I found out. Who is teaching me? My Gurudev came and stood in front of me and said, I am teaching you. I said, okay, I didn't know this. Okay, thank you very much. Right, very good. So now tell me, who am I? So go on your journey. So this is the way how it happens. And this is what it means. Just meditate on the divine. Meditate on Krishna and he will give you what is needed. Why are you bothered about trying to think, by study karunga to sab aayega? Not necessary. Not necessary. None of these great people in the world who have become multi-billionaires or trillionaires or whoever they might be have studied anything. Let me assure you this much. They got it because that is how it has to come to them. That is why they got it. So he says, meditation on God is superior to knowledge. And the last one, renunciation of the fruit of action is superior to meditation. What is important? Then the number one step. He says, renounce the fruit of action. Did I not tell you just now only? The knowledge kept on coming in 2007 when I went and told him, I met my Gurudev again. He told me, go teach. Oh no, I don't want to teach anybody. I said, no, you have to go and teach. At that time, I was clear. I have never earned a penny in my life. I have never become famous. I don't want to be known by anybody. So I just have to teach a few people. I'm happy with it. And after that, I just taught few people. That's it. There is no need. So I was not bothered about the fruits of action. I have to teach, but I should not be bothered whether somebody is reaching destination or not reaching destination. Whether I am going to become famous or not famous, whether I am going to become infamous also, doesn't matter. There are lots of people who are infamous, you see. Doesn't matter. You don't have to bother. Infamous means what? They may be some spiritual masters, but they have become very infamous because of all those incidents that they did. Somebody who has run away to the Caribbeans. So you can understand that. So people who become famous and people who become infamous should not be bothered about these things also. See, when I was meeting Om Swami in the Himalayas, I told him, you know what? Very funny thing. You are a famous person. When you go to the airport or when you go out walking on the streets, you can't even walk on the streets. People will mob you. They will all come near you and say, Swamiji, Swamiji, Swamiji. So I said, I pity you. I can walk on the streets. I am a common man. Nobody recognizes me. Do you know how much that is called freedom? I am not bothered about money, fame, fortune, nothing. That is what is called renunciation of the fruit of action. So whatever action that you do, don't bother what it is going to lead you to. I'm going to be famous, I will get money, I will get power, fame, fortune, whatever. Don't bother. So highest is renouncing the fruits of action. Did you get these steps? I will recount them for you. He says the lowest step is practicing. You see, people do practicing. They keep on practicing yoga, this, that, like that. When you practice on me, like you're thinking about me, you're practicing, thinking about Krishna, 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 Krishna. You practice. So when you practice, what happens? That is step number 1 at the bottom. But higher than that, higher means is far greater, superior than that, he says is knowledge. Higher than practice is knowledge. So if you know me, knowing me through the scriptures or through your prayers or whatever that is, there are lots of people who know Krishna, no? They read all the books that are there. They read all this Bhagavatam and you name it, all kinds of books that are there. They know the Bhagavad Gita by heart. They say, 700 verses? No problem, I know that. Yeah, I've met a lot of these kind of folks in my life also. They will say, I know the whole Bhagavad Gita by heart. Of course you know. Your superior knowledge, see? So higher than meditation is knowledge. Higher than knowledge is dependency on God, which is called meditation on God. When you only zero on to meditation on God, you don't have to bother about anything. Knowledge God will give. Why are you bothered? See, you just meditate on me, just focus on me, focus on me, focus on me, focus on me. That's it. Meditate on me. Then, higher than that, still higher than that, is called renunciation of the fruit of action. So the highest realm is renouncing the fruit of action. So you do whatever action that is there. You know, in one of the steps he said, the action which you are doing, okay, you are doing it for me, think like that. But maybe you are not able to think like that. So he says, don't bother about the fruits of action. What is it that is going to come? Why are you bothered? What I have to give you, you just bothered about that, no? Right? Sometimes it comes, sometimes it doesn't come. If it doesn't come, well and good. If it comes, well and good. You got what I'm saying? That which comes to you easily is your swadharma. So the fruits are also, if they are coming to you, it is coming to you by the will of God. Got the answer? It is by the will of God everything happens. So why bother so much about it? There is a very beautiful story which I keep on telling every time. So this story I will tell you and then I will end. So in that story, what Krishna is telling, there's a story from Buddha's time. Let us take it from Buddha's time. In Buddha's time, there was this person. Okay. Now what had happened to him was, he was a simple human being. But for everything he would say, by the will of Rama. He would keep on saying, by the will of Rama, this happens, by the will of Rama. So one day in his house, the robbers are come inside his house. They are hiding from this police. And they drop all the gold and whatever that they have robbed in his house. Okay. After that, the police comes. The police search his house and they find the gold over there. And they catch hold of him. And every time when this is happening, he says, the robbers came by the will of God. The police came by the will of God. They found the gold by the will of God. They caught me by the will of God. They are putting me in jail by the will of God. He goes to jail. The king says, are you an idiot or what? Will of God, will of God. That night, he gets a dream. The king gets a dream. Leave him and give him money And don't know, he is not a robber. The God comes and Ram comes and tell him. So next morning he leaves him. So he says, and he is given all the gold and whatever, presents. So that man says, everything happens by the will of God. And he goes home. He went home by the will of God. This is the final step. Don't bother about anything. Renounce the fruit of action. Whatever happens is by the will of God alone. And that is what you should be bothered about. So we will stop over here. And this is verse 12. In the evening today at 4:30, we will be doing verse 13 onwards. Take care. Have a great day. Bye.